is a congressman by the name of Dana Rohrabacher, or Rohrabacher. He's a Republican congressman from California. And Mr. Rothberger, I think I'm mispronouncing it. He apparently has an issue with the homeless people in his county getting a place to sleep. Because, you know, the Republican Party, and frankly, a lot of establishment Democrat Party, they're not corrupt enough. They're not greedy enough. Now, you know, we can't allow the homeless to sleep near us. Rohrabacher, thank you. Rohrabacher. We can't allow the homeless to sleep near us. Tell them to get the hell away. Oh, Mr. Rohrabacher. Let's read about him. Republicans have made a bit of a habit saying the quiet part out loud lately, and Representative Dana Rohrabacher appears to be the latest offender. On March 28th, the Los Angeles Times reported that officials in Orange County, California, were working to push homeless people out of the area, removing bus benches after complaints that homeless people were sleeping on them, forcing people out of encampments along the Santa Ana River, and vowing to remove a tent city near the Santa Ana Civic Center. No one is sure where those people will go next. More than 1,000 people protested at the Orange County Board of Supervisors meeting last month, where officials were considering a plan to relocate those who had been moved from near the river to temporary shelters in the area. That plan apparently inspired Rohrabacher to speak out, issuing a statement titled "Homeless Shelter Nonsense," in which he complained about the homeless population, insinuating that homelessness was somehow a choice. Quote, "The chickens are coming home to roost after almost a decade of liberal left control of our state and federal governments," Rohrabacher wrote. "Those chickens have ended up in Orange County." In the statement, Rohrabacher called, quote, "county finance homeless compounds a spectacle and a travesty." Quote, "As a parent who owns a modest home in an Orange County neighborhood, I join the outrage that we are assuming responsibility for homeless people, taking care of their basic needs and elongating their agony by removing the necessity to make fundamental decisions about the way they live their lives," he said. Providing them with, quote, "a place to stay and basic sustenance," he added, "will not change them for the better and will encourage more such people to come to Orange County." I've heard some vile shit in my day, but that really is about more vile than anything I've heard in quite some time. So if Mr. Congressman Rohrabacher, he says the chickens are coming home to roost, let's see where he gets his chickens from, shall we? Over his career in Congress, where does he get his money from? Ooh, his top donor is real estate. $611,000 in his career as a congressperson. Well, guess what real estate means, folks? Do you know what that means, real estate? He's talking about he's gotten $611,000 from developers, from real estate developers. And you know who real estate developers do not want out on the streets? Homeless people. So, Mr. Rohrabacher, sorry, I keep mispronouncing it, Congressman Rohrabacher, who thinks homelessness is like a choice, and thinks, "Ugh, how dare these homeless people sleep out on my streets." What was his quote? This scummy little piece of crap? Oh, it's a spectacle and a travesty. Quote, "As a parent who owns a modest home in an Orange County neighborhood, I join the outrage that we are assuming responsibility for homeless people." Translated in English, I join the outrage on behalf of my fat cat donors who have funded me $611,000 in my career. And listening to this scummy piece of shit, Dana Rohrabacher, I know I'm a journalist, I'm not supposed to tell the truth. It reminded me of something I did for the Young Turks. While I was in Oregon for the primary, I went to an outdoor homeless tent city, and they call it the houseless. They don't call it homeless because home is where the heart is. So you don't want to say they're homeless because that would mean they don't have a heart. So they told me to call them houseless, which I forgot to do. So it's not homeless, it's houseless. But I went there, and it was pretty much empty during the day. because these are houseless people who were at work. They have full-time jobs, but still cannot afford rent for a crappy apartment. So I want to play you just a little bit of this interview I did. Yes, it was from my time at the Young Turks, but I think this guy gave a good description. I think this guy that I interviewed at this outdoor Portland houseless tent village, I think he has a good description for the types of public servants like Congressman Dana Rohrabacher.
Everybody wants to think this is the land of the free and the home of the brave, and we're brought up to think that this is such a great country, but it's not anymore.
What do you think happened to the country?
I think that probably the bankers and the corporate conglomerate has taken over. And now, as long as you do what you're supposed to do within their structure, you'll have a home, you'll have a car, you'll have a place to live. But if you are a nonconformist or counterculture, they're going to find a way to ease you out. You're going to be homeless, and then we're going to try to hide you, you know. Especially in the big cities, there's so much homelessness that people become numb to it. But when I get out into the rural areas, this country is still great in the heart of its people, not in our government. Our government sucks.
Could you say it any better than that? And by the way, this houseless individual was in jail, literally in jail, for a bad check. He didn't even intentionally write the bad check. Got a bad check, went to jail for 3 months, ruined his life. His apartment got back, his apartment was gone, and he couldn't afford it. He was houseless. Have you heard eloquent people speaking like that on CNN? Have you heard real talk like that on MSNBC or the pages of the Washington Post or the New York Times or, frankly, on larger independent media programs? I'm here to give you some truth, baby. Real truth.